What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Patrick here. Moving on to the next few examples, still dealing with factoring. We got to factor each of these over here. So these expressions, they're more sort of special cases that you may run into. And I wanted to cover these kinds of cases. So starting with this first one, we got 4 bracket x plus y squared plus 5 bracket x plus y minus 6. So first off, notice that in this expression, we have the same bracket over here, this x plus y, and actually in the other expressions as well. Here, we're going to have to do a little bit of manipulation in B. But in all of these, we basically have expressions, full expressions within brackets, within the main expression that we're dealing with. And so whenever you run into a pattern like this, what I recommend is introducing a variable that you could sub in for those brackets that you see. So notice with part A, we have this x plus y in both of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let m equal x plus y, like that. And so if we let m equal that bracket x plus y and we rewrite this, notice we'll end up with 4m squared plus 5m minus 6. And we basically change this to just a simple quadratic that we are comfortable with factoring at this point. So if we factor this, notice that first we look for greatest common factors. Notice 4, 5, 6. Can't take anything out of that. So let's try decomposition. We'll have an a value of 4, a b value of 5, a c value of negative 6, an ac value of negative 24. So find two numbers that multiply to negative 24. Add up to a b value of 5, which would be negative 3 and positive 8, negative 3, positive 8. Like that. So then what we could do, we could decompose this middle term into minus 3m plus 8m minus 6. From these two, we could take out an m. And then from these two, we could take out a 2. And then as expected, that bracket, or sorry, oh, I screwed this up. We took a 2 out. Sorry, so this should be 4m minus 3. Right there. Right, and I noticed because these two brackets should be the same, so right away, there's an example of me catching my mistake within the process. I factored this wrong over here. So then we could take out a 4m minus 3, and then we're left with an m plus 2. Like that. However, notice that the original expression, it's not in terms of m, it's in terms of x plus y. So now we got to bring back this x plus y and plug it in for m. So rewriting these brackets, what we would end up with is 4 bracket x plus y minus 3. And then we'll have x plus y plus 2 like that. And then we can distribute this, we can simplify it. And we end up with that right there. All right, so kind of a unique format that it factors to, but nevertheless, it does factor into that. And we were able to get there by introducing a new variable. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing for all of these. So let's write the answer for this first one over here. Now with the second one, we're actually going to have to do a little preliminary work here because we have 5 bracket x minus 4 squared minus 18, and then this bracket is 4 minus x, and then we got the minus 8. So what can we do here? Well, notice that the brackets are actually different, right? This x minus 4 and then this 4 minus x. But what we could do is we can maybe take this 4 minus x and switch it in a way where it has an expression x minus 4, because then once we have the same bracket, we can do that same process of introducing a variable. So this 4 minus x, I've done this in other examples earlier in the course as well. What we could do here, we could take out a negative 1 from both of these, and then we'd end up with negative 4 plus x. Basically, all of the signs would change, and then we could just switch these up. And so we'd end up with that right there. Okay, so 4 minus x, this, it's the same as negative bracket x minus 4, or there's like a negative 1 here, negative 1 times x minus 4. 4 minus x, and these two brackets multiplied, they're the exact same thing. And now notice the reason why we did that is because now we're going to have an x minus 4, and then we'll have an x minus 4 here. And now we can make an expression where we take out that bracket. But first, let's take these two brackets and plug it in for this bracket. So we would end up with 5x minus 4 squared minus 18. And then for this bracket, again, we're going to plug in these two brackets. We'll have negative 1, x minus 4, and then we got the minus 8 like that. Now, before bringing in this new variable, here, negative 18 times negative 1, that would end up being positive 18. Then we got the x minus 4, minus 8 like that. And now we got these same brackets. So basically all we did, we took a negative 1 out of this changed to positive 18, and then it becomes an x minus 4. So now let's bring in that variable, let m equal x minus 4. So rewriting this with that variable, we'll have 5m squared plus 18m minus 8, like that. And so from here, notice we can't factor anything out initially, so let's factor this by decomposition. The a value is 5, the b value is 18, the c value is negative 8. And then the ac value would be negative 40. Find two numbers that multiply to negative 40 and add up to 18. And that would be what? Negative 2 and 20, negative 2 and 20. Like that. So then let's decompose this. 5m squared minus 2m plus 20m minus 8. From these two we could take out an m. Then from these two we could take out a 4, and we're left with 5m minus 2. We could then take out the 5m minus 2, and we're left with m plus 4, like that. Okay, so this factors into that, but remember, our answer can't be in terms of m because the original expression is in terms of x. So what we got to do, we got to bring back this x minus 4 for the m values here. So when we do that, give me a sec here, we would bring back, so I'm going to put square brackets here. So we'll have 5 bracket x minus 4 minus 2, and then the other bracket would just be x minus 4 plus 4, like that. So distributing, we'd end up with 5x minus 20 minus 2, and then over here, minus 4 plus 4, those net out to 0, so we actually just end up with an x over here. And so we could bring the x in front. These two simplify to minus 22, so we'll have 5x minus 22. So this would actually end up just being that answer right there. Another way you can do these, which I don't recommend if you see it in this kind of format, is you could just expand everything. So you could just expand all of this, but here you'd have to FOIL out. You'd have to expand the negative 18 in this bracket, then collect like terms. It's kind of a long process, a cumbersome process. I do recommend doing this change of variable process, but if you were to do that, it would expand to 5x squared minus 22x. Then you could just take out an x and you get your final factored form. Okay, but again, I don't recommend doing that, and that won't always work. Like if you expand all of this, it's going to be tough to go from the expanded version to this. Or if you expand part C, notice we have an x squared here, so when we square it, we're going to end up with dealing with an exponent x to the 4, and we haven't gone through a process to factor that yet. That's in grade 12. Okay, so a lot of times you have to do this, this change in variable. But in part B, because when you expand everything, it would end up being a quadratic. You can do it that way if you want to. Again, it's not something that, that I recommend though. Okay, so finally part C. 2 bracket 4x squared minus 3x squared minus 19 4x squared minus 3x plus 35. So as you could see, this bracket is the same. So let's introduce a variable, m equals 4x squared minus 3x. So then we'd end up with 2m squared minus 19m plus 35. And then we could factor this. So can't take anything out initially. If we do decomposition, the a value is 2, the b value is negative 19, the c value is 35, ac would be 70. So what two numbers multiply to 70 and add up to negative 19? And those two numbers would be negative 14 and negative 5, negative 14. And negative 5. Negative 14 times negative 5 gives us positive 70. Negative 14 minus 5 gives us negative 19. So then we could decompose this into those two values. And then from these two, we could take out a 2m. So we're left with m minus 7. From these two, we could take out a negative 5, left with m minus 7. Then we could take out the m minus 7. And we're left with 2m. Minus 5 like that. Okay, now what we got to do, we got to bring back this 4x squared minus 3x and plug it in for those m values. So I'm going to actually write it up here because there's actually a lot more steps to this. So continuing this on, for the m, I'm plugging in 4x squared minus 3x minus 7. And then here we'll have 2 bracket 4x squared minus 3x, and that's going to be minus 5. The reason why there's more steps here is because these brackets are actually going to factor further. So here, this bracket, we can't simplify this one, so I'm just going to leave it for now. This one, though, we could take the 2, distribute it in the bracket, we'd end up with 8x squared minus 6x minus 5. Now here, what you want to do is you want to check, can these brackets factor further? So let's look at them one by one. So we got the 4x squared minus 3x minus 7, a value of 4, the b value is negative 3, the c value is negative 7. Sorry, first off, I forgot to mention, we check, can we take out a greatest common factor? In this case, we can't, so we're going straight into the decomposition. AC would be negative 28, two numbers that multiply to negative 28, and then add up to that b value of negative 3. It would be negative 7 and 4, negative 7 and 4, like that. So then we can decompose that b value. From these two, we could take out an x. And from these two, can't take anything else, so we just take out a positive 1. And then we leave it as 4x minus 7. Then we could take out the 4x minus 7, and we're left with an x plus 1 like that. So going back, this is our main work. Remember, this is just side work we're doing. So we took this bracket, factored it into those two brackets. So this would end up being 4x minus 7x plus 1. Now let's see if we can factor this remaining brackets. 8x squared minus 6x minus 5. So again, here, can we take anything out initially? No, we can't. Let's see if it factors by decomposition. AC is negative 40. Two numbers that multiply to negative 40 and add up to the b value of negative 6. That would be negative 10 and 4. Right? Negative 10 times 4 gives us negative 40. Negative 10 plus 4 gives us negative 6. So decompose. Like that. Then from these two, we could take out a 2x. And we'd be left with, can we take out a 2x? Yes. 4x minus 5. Then from these two, we could just take out a 1. We're left with 4x minus 5. So we end up, we take out the 4x minus 5, and then we're left with the 2x plus 1. Like that. Give me a sec here. Yes. Okay, so this factors into those two brackets, so this bracket factors into those two. So this part C, it actually ended up factoring into 4 brackets. Right, so just be on the lookout for those two. After you do the main factoring, sometimes the factors that you end up with can factor further, like in this case. Right, so be on the lookout for these where you can bring in a new variable if you're dealing with brackets like this, simplify the expression, factor that expression, bring back that original expression that you took out, that you subbed in for, the new variable for, and then always check if your remaining brackets can factor further.